In this video, we'll be looking at the two concepts in economics, demand and supply. These ideas help us understand how things are bought and sold and why prices go up and down. Demand is all about how much consumers are willing to buy products at various prices, while supply is all about producers' willingness to sell products at various prices. So we're looking at this from two different points of view here, which are the consumer on the demand side and the producer on the supply side. We'll start with demand. There's a rule called the law of demand, which states that as price decreases, the quantity demand increases, and as price increases, the quantity demand decreases. Basically, when things are cheaper, more people will buy it, and when things get expensive, less people will buy it. This makes sense. Think of it like this. If a pair of headphones were €10 in a shop, you're more likely to buy the headphones because they're cheap and good value. But if the price of the headphones suddenly went up to €50, you're not as likely to buy them. To illustrate demand, we use something called the demand curve. The demand curve typically slopes downward from left to right to reflect the law of demand. Businesses use a demand graph to see how different prices affect how much people want to buy their products. This helps them decide on prices, plan how much to make, and figure out the best ways to sell and market their products. Think of it like this. If you're working for an electronics shop, they might ask you to create a demand graph for their headphones priced at various different prices to see how much consumers are willing to pay. So if the price of headphones were set at €50, we would only have 25 customers willing to buy at this price, which would result in €1,250 in sales. If the headphones were priced at €30, we would have 200 customers willing to buy them, which would make us €6,000 in sales. So if prices were set at €10, this would result in 1,000 people willing to buy the headphones at that price. And if we kept at this price, this would turn into €10,000 in sales. This demand curve illustrates the law of demand perfectly, showing that as price decreases, the quantity demand increases, leading to higher overall sales. Now, we'll have a look at supply, which is all about how much of something is available for sale. There's a rule called the law of supply, which states that as price increases, the quantity supplied increases, and as the price decreases, the quantity supplied decreases. Basically, when prices go up, producers are willing to make and sell more of a product, and when prices go down, they make and sell less of it. To illustrate supply, we use something called the supply curve. The supply curve typically slopes upward from left to right to reflect the law of supply. Businesses use a supply graph to see how different prices affect how much they are willing to produce and sell. This helps them decide on pricing strategies, plan production levels, and manage their resources effectively. So back to you working in an electronics shop. You've done your demand graph and you see how much customers are willing to pay, but now you want to see how many units of headphones the suppliers are willing to provide you for your shop at each price point we've already identified. So think of the supply like you're buying these headphones from a manufacturer. So if we set our headphones at €10, the quantity supplied to us by our manufacturers is 25 units. Our manufacturer may only be supplying us with this small amount because their profit margin from €10 isn't very high. Next, if we're selling our headphones at €30, then the manufacturer would supply us with 200 units, which would tell us that they're making a bit more profit from their headphones. Then, if we set our price at €50, the manufacturer would supply us with 1,000 units. So at this price point, the manufacturer would be hitting their optimal profit margin and are happy to supply us with a lot of units. This supply curve illustrates the law of supply perfectly, showing that as the price increases, the quantity supplied increases. So basically, the higher the price, the greater the profit is for the producers. And if people continue to buy at a higher price, producers will continue to supply items at this price. Now, if we put both the demand and the supply into the one graph, it tells us a more complete story. You might think the supply and demand curve contradicts each other, but they're actually looking for the same thing here. When we combine both curves, at the point where they intersect with each other is called market equilibrium. This is the point at which what's being bought by customers and produced by suppliers is equal. It's highlighted here. Think about it. If you owned a business, this is the sweet spot, where you have enough headphones in stock to meet the demands of customers. This means you're not left with lots of stock that you can't shift, or even disappointed customers if you're always out of stock of certain items. There are two more important concepts we'll briefly talk about here that are good to know. The first concept is called surplus, which occurs when there are more products available than customers are willing to pay. This is anything above the market equilibrium. So if you owned the electronics shop and had thousands and thousands of units in stock, but they're priced so high that nobody is buying them, this is a surplus. The usual solution here is sales to reduce stock levels. The next concept is called shortage, which occurs when there are fewer products available than customers want to buy. This is anything below market equilibrium. So think if you owned an electronics shop and only had a few units in stock, but they're priced so low that everybody wants to buy them. This is called a shortage. The usual solution here is to raise prices or increase production to meet demand. So we can really see now why the market equilibrium is the sweet spot that we're searching for in the graph. Now that we have a good solid idea of demand and supply, we can attempt a question. This is from the 2024 Business Studies paper. We're given a question like this. A competitor has entered the breakfast cereal market, Corn Krispies, a fluffy and light morning cereal. We're given a table with prices, quantity demanded and supplied. Using this information, we have to draw and label a demand and supply curve for Corn Krispies. We were given our prices, which is plotted for us in the graph, so we'll start with our quantity demanded, which you can see highlighted here. So at €1, we can see the quantity demanded is 1,000 units. So for the video, we'll highlight the €1 on the graph and the 1,000 units, and where these two intersect is where we'll plot on our graph. So we'll put a circle here, and this means when the cereal was priced at €1, then 1,000 customers wanted to buy it. Next, we have 150 at 800 units. We'll highlight both, and where they intersect is where we'll put a mark. At 150, 800 customers wanted the cereal. Now we have €2 at 600 units. Where these two intersect, we'll leave a mark. When cereal is priced at €2, the quantity demanded by customers is 600 units. Next, at 250, the units is 400. Where these two intersect, we'll make a mark. So at 250, the quantity demanded for our cereal is now 400 units. Finally, we have €3 and 200 units. We'll make a mark here, and where these two lines intersect. So when priced at €3, the quantity demanded of the cereal was €200. Now that we have all these points plotted on our graph, we'll draw a line through them and write what this line represents, which is the demand line. It's a good idea to do these in different colours too, so you won't get confused when you're plotting the next set. Moving on to the quantity supplied, we'll start with €1, and the quantity supplied at €1 is 200 units. Again, on the graph, we'll see these two figures, and where these two meet, we'll make a mark. So when cereal is priced at €1, the quantity supplied by the manufacturer is 200 units. Next, at 150, we have 400 units supplied. We'll make a mark where these 2 points meet on the graph. So when they're priced at 150, the manufacturer will supply us with 400 units. At €2, the quantity supplied is 600, so we'll mark this on our graph. Now when we're charging €2 for the cereal, the manufacturer is supplying us with 600 units. At 250, the quantity supplied is 800. Where these two intersect, we'll make a mark on our graph. Now at 250, the manufacturer is providing us with 800 units. Finally, we have €3 and the quantity supplied is 1,000 units. We'll mark this on our graph. So when priced at €3, the manufacturer has given us 1,000 units of cereal to sell. With all our points marked on our graph, we'll draw a line through each point and make a note of what this line represents, which is our quantity supplied. With our graph now complete, this gives us a better idea. When priced at €3, there wasn't much demand for our cereal. Only 200 people wanted it at that price point. But looking then at the supply level, there was 1,000 units provided to us at the same price point. So we're selling the cereal at €3 and only 200 people want it, but we have stock of 1,000 units. This is called a surplus, with too many units and not enough demand. Whereas at €1, we have a really high demand, which is 1,000 people wanting to buy our cereal at this point, but a low quantity supplied at 200 units. So our cereal is €1 and 1,000 people want it, but we only have 200 units on the shelf. This is called a shortage. So from an economic point of view, we need to find the perfect middle ground between demand and supply at a certain price. What we're asked next for is to find our equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. So the equilibrium price is the price at which the quantity of goods supplied is equal to the quantity of goods demanded. At this price, there is neither a surplus nor a shortage. And the equilibrium quantity is the amount of goods that are bought and sold at the equilibrium price. Looking at our graph, we need to identify the point in which both lines intersect with each other. From here, we'll look over at what price point this is on our vertical axis, and it's €2, which is our equilibrium price. And we'll then see at which quantity we're at in the equilibrium, and this is 600 units. So at equilibrium, the quantity of goods that sellers are willing to supply us is 600 units of cereal. This exactly matches the quantity of goods that buyers are willing to purchase, which is €600 also, at the price point of €2. At this point, there is no surplus or shortage. The equilibrium point is crucial because it ensures that the market is balanced. With no excess supply or demand, at this point the price and the quantity are stable, benefiting both consumers and producers by matching the supply with the demand efficiently. This is how you complete a demand and supply question, and I hope you found this video helpful.